Hey everybody, Bones here, Bones Garage, just bringing the update what's going on at the garage. So, 1969 Cadillacs, Khalees. We have done quite a bit of work to her, but we have done stuff that we didn't expect to have to do. Yeah, there you go. We weren't expecting to have to pull the top of the motor off, but we started pulling out the exhaust manifolds because they were leaking really bad. All the gaskets were shot between the head and the exhaust manifold, and it had really, really bad exhaust leaks. You could barely hear what's going on in the motor. That's how bad the exhaust was leaking. So we started pulling all the bolts, and over half of the bolts just broke coming out. Trying to get a drill into this little tiny area over here with the upper control arm in the way, it's near next to impossible. You cannot get in there and do a good job drilling out the old studs and getting them out and then cleaning up the threads and putting it all back. So we went ahead and I called up the owner, told him what's going on. He said, take it down, do what you have to do, make it right. He wants to drive his car, he wants to be safe in it, and he wants it to run well. So we took the heads off, took the manifolds off. It's going to help out because it had a really bad leak from the front under the manifold and from the rear under the manifold at the China rails, front and rear. So we're gonna fix all that up because the old rubber was cracking and it was just pushing oil out. We also found when we pulled the plugs out of this thing that some of the cylinders, and you can see it right on that cylinder. Look at how wet and oily that cylinder is. When we pulled the valve covers off, we noticed that the valve seals on that cylinder and a couple of other cylinders, you see how this cylinder is nice, it's dry, and you see the difference in that cylinder to that cylinder, how wet that cylinder is. That cylinder was pulling oil into it. So we pulled the valve covers off. We noticed that the valve seals were all cracked, broken. Some of them weren't even seated on the valve anymore. So we're gonna go ahead, put all new valve seals in. We started drilling out all of the studs that were broken in there. And what we found was below the broken studs were old broken studs. And somebody had gotten a drill almost into that area, and I don't know how they did it, but when they put the new screws in, the hole that was in the top of the old screw wedged into the new screw. Can't get either one out now. What a nightmare it's been getting these studs, the broken bolts out of the heads. Another problem we had is on the driver's side manifold, which is this manifold right here. You can see it's all broken, and somebody tried to weld it all back together. So we have a bad exhaust leak coming from there as well. And you can see where it was the exhaust was leaking right out of here on this one. This one barely was sealed. This one was sealed pretty good. This one wasn't sealed up towards here. You can see where it was leaking out over there. So we're getting everything fixed, and that's just the driver's side. But being that I'm a Cadillac freak, I have a little stash of parts for Cadillacs, and one of the motors I'm going to be building, I don't need this exhaust manifold. I'm going to be using headers. So we're going to get him the exhaust manifold I'm not going to use, and we're going to put it on this car because it's getting hard to find parts for these Cadillacs. And then this is the passenger side exhaust manifold, the log. And you can see again how bad this was leaking all in here on that side. So we had a really bad leak. It was leaking up to the top, it was leaking right over here, and it was leaking all down here. So there was no way we were going to get this to seal up and work. We also had a leak over here coming out. We had a leak coming out over there. So there was leaks everywhere on that manifold as well. We're going to rebuild the carburetor right there, and we're going to start putting her back together soon. We're also going to be doing the rear brakes. We got to replace the rear wheel cylinders because, again, they're leaking. They're drums, they're wheel cylinders, they leak. And there you go. You can see how wet that wheel cylinder right there is. So there you go, guys. There's what's going on. I will keep you guys up to date as we go. Have fun. Okay, bye.